In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
My mother was very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign and she wasn't even really sure where she was at.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Stony Hollow reminds us this year that texting and driving never mix. Did you know that 1 in 4 car accidents are caused by distracted driving? Stony Hollow Landfill knows that no text message is worth the risk. That's Stony Hollow Landfill on the air because they care.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music.
This is Mommy's jam.
Then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Dad, I picked up your pills, made your lunch, and your laundry is done.
When you care for a loved one, you take care of everything. But are you taking care of yourself? Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. They can help save lives by not having play dates. That's right. By replacing get-togethers with virtual play dates and video chats, they can help slow the evil spread of germs. And if your superheroes do go outside, make sure they continue their superhero wing by staying 6 feet away from others to protect everyone in America land. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to barely sleep, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're going to listen to WWSU 106.9 FM, and you're going to like it. We wouldn't lie.
There's only one thing I hate more than lying. Skim milk, which is water that's lying about being milk.
All right, welcome back to Keep It Real. We are now officially live on YouTube, and we appreciate the patience. It was a little bit longer of a commercial break than we wanted to take. But like I said, what's going on here? Oh, he's fixing my camera angle. Okay, I appreciate it. But I was terrible, and I said we wanted to do this show from 1 to 3, and then I decided to sign up for a class that runs until 1:20. So we appreciate your patience while we recorded the first segment of the show, but now we are good to go. I'm Shea Neal, alongside with me, Parker Testa. Good to see the faces, well, maybe not good, but to see the faces behind the operation. Let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about baseball, which is both of our favorite sports. I'm looking at the standings here, and this is kind of going to get me into my biggest surprises, biggest disappointments. We're about 5 weeks into the season. Let's start off with talking about the Boston Red Sox. Best team, best record in the league as of now. And, I mean, I didn't expect them to be god-awful, but I didn't expect them to be 22-13 right now and a plus 36 run differential. Is it the Alex Cora effect? Because it's a very similar roster to last year.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up because Ron Renicky,
he's not a great manager.
The 1 year that he was the manager, I think he was like 75 years old or something like that.
Maybe.
But
I think he put that down on his contract. He might be like 95.
So, yeah, he was not good as their manager last year. That was not a good team last year, but I honestly think it's the Alex Cora effect. I really do.
Roster.
Yeah, I really do.
You have guys.
I don't know why.
Right. I mean, you have Erod coming back, which is big. And then I believe they're supposed to have Chris Sale coming back in like July, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think Sale's coming back mid-season, but they've been winning. Nick Pivetta has a 3 ERA and is 5-0. Nick Pivetta. Tanner Houck has been really good. Their bullpen's been strong, which is weird because the Red Sox usually have a terrible bullpen. And then JD Martinez has got his swing back. Xander Bogaerts might be the MVP right now. He's hitting 360 and carrying this team night in, night out. Rafi Devers just gets better and better every year. And guys like freaking Marwin Gonzalez and Christian Arroyo and Hunter Renfroe are contributing night in, night out. It's a weird. I think Alex Cora is a top 5 manager in baseball. You can say
Bobby
Dahlbeck.
I've never heard of before this year.
Michael Chavis came up from AAA and had like 3 hits yesterday. No. I think you can say what you want about Alex Cora. I know a lot of people don't like him. I wasn't caught up in that. I know you're a Dodgers fan, so your feelings are much more strong on that scandal. But I think Alex Cora is a top 5 manager in the league, with or without cheating.
I would agree with that. I know that year that they were in the World Series against that they ultimately won against my Dodgers, they were fantastic.
Oh, it was such a good team.
The only game the Dodgers won in that series, it took him 18 innings to do it.
And Eovaldi was a master in that game.
Sure
they just got lucky that Muncy poked one over the wall.
Yeah. And but I would agree with you. I mean, that's another segment we can do.
Top 5 managers. There you go.
Best managers in baseball.
Yeah, there you go. We've had that conversation before.
Or on the flip side, worst managers in baseball.
Oof, I might have to put David Bell on that list. I don't know.
No,
David's.
You can't do that to David.
David's like around 18 to 20. He's not bottom 5. He's slightly below average. That's what I think.
Well, this is not the segment, but
no, we'll do this some other time.
Yeah,
but where would you put Dave Roberts? Slightly above average.
He's in the teens.
Okay.
He's not in my top 10.
Okay. No, I'd agree with you. I'd put him somewhere between like 10 and 13.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 if I'd have to look at it. Kevin Cash is still up there for me. Bob Melvin's up there. I mean, we'll get into this more in depth.
Yeah.
But there's so many good managers. I mean, how about Gabe Kapler? He's starting to emerge as a really solid manager.
That bothers me so much.
We'll get to the Giants in a second, but Kapler's having a great year, and that's weird because he had 3 really bad years. No, it's definitely something interesting. But Boston's great right now. Their pitching is holding. I don't know if their pitching's held together with rubber bands and duct tape, but it's working right now. And their offense, the Red Sox always have a top-tier offense. And as long as you have the 4 names of Bogaerts, Devers, Martinez, and, Vazquez or Verdugo, whoever you want to. We forgot to talk about Alex Verdugo. How good has he been with the Red Sox?
Very good.
Yeah, exactly. So as long as you have those core 4, Verdugo, Martinez, Devers, and Bogaerts, it's going to be a top-tier offense. And if their pitching holds together like this, they might actually be able to challenge the Yankees for the East.
I was gonna say, I thought you were going somewhere else with that. I thought you were going like conference series, and I was gonna say, whoa, hang on.
Well, it's the first week of May.
Right.
I got to see more, but as of right now, the Red Sox look really good.
They are. They've been very good.
They got a 3.5 game lead on the Yankees right now. The Yankees, I can't say they've been a huge disappointment because they're kind of picking it up lately. They've gone 7-3 in their last 10. But I'll say exactly what I said about them in the offseason. They're banking on a lot of question marks working out. They're banking on their rotation being held together by Corey Kluber post-injuries, Jamison Tyone post-injuries, and Jordan Montgomery and Domingo Germán. Garrett Cole's the only lock bet you have in the Yankees rotation. You don't know what Kluber's going to bring every 5 days. You don't know what Tyone's going to do. Tyone pitched with the Pirates for 5 years. He comes out some nights and has 7 shutout innings, and he's dominant, and he comes out other nights and gives up 5 runs in 4 innings. It's kind of a hit or miss.
So, for me, the most interesting division right now is the NL East because all those teams are within like 4 games of each other.
It's weird because they all have negative run differentials except for the Marlins, who sit in 4th. Like, what? I think the Marlins are a sleeping giant. I really think the Marlins got a shot at the division.
Yeah, and whenever Don Mattingly is involved in anything, you never count them out.
And it's weird because it's a team that's constructed around Jesus Aguilar, John Birdie, Brian Anderson, Adam Duvall. No, this isn't the 2017 Adam Duvall that hit 30 bombs and made the All-Star team for the Reds. No, this is 32-year-old Adam Duvall that they're just sticking in right field and telling him to hit. And he's doing it. It's weird. How about Jazz Chisholm? He's emerging into a superstar. I love Jazz Chisholm. Yeah. This Marlins team's great. But yeah, I think the Marlins could definitely be in the talk for, I don't want to say, they're not a surprise or a disappointment. They're basically right where I expected them to be.
They made the playoffs last year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a competitive division all year long. I can't tell you. I wouldn't be surprised if the Mets came in first. I wouldn't be surprised if the Mets came in fourth. So it's definitely weird at this point. But let's talk about a team that's really disappointed me so far, the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, that's
Kenta Maeda fell back to earth. He's kind of having a pretty tough start to the year. They sit at 12-20.
He's on my fantasy team, and I'm thoroughly disappointed in Kenta.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Barrios has been okay, but their pitching's really been disappointing. And their offense, minus Cruz and Buxton, hasn't really been there. And Byron Buxton's having an MVP caliber year if he can just stay healthy. And we've said that for 4 years about Byron Buxton now. If he can just stay healthy. I love Byron Buxton. I think he's one of the closest things that the MLB has to Mike Trout in the fact that he can do it all.
Yeah.
He's not the hitter that Trout is, but he's got the speed. He's got the defense. He's got the power. His contact's getting better. Buxton might be the second best 5-tool player in the league behind Trout.
I would agree with that. I mean, he's a walking stolen base.
Oh, he's so good. There's not many. I guess there is, but it's a short list of players that I would do. Anything to get on the Reds, like guys like DeGrom, guys like Trout. Buxton's on that list.
So for me, there's not a lot of players that I will go out of my way to sit down and watch on TV. Buxton is one of those players.
Well, Buxton infuriates me because the Reds' top prospect for a few years was Billy Hamilton. And I feel like Buxton is what Billy Hamilton could have been if he fulfilled that potential. Billy was just speed and defense and couldn't hit. If he learned how to hit, the Reds might have a guy like Byron Buxton in center field.
Yeah.
So that's what bugs me. But the Twins, Buxton's had a superstar caliber season, but they're 8 games under 500. And I hate to say, a month into the season, but they're 7 games out of first right now, 5 games back in the wild card. With a team as talented as the White Sox, who are picking it up as of late, and the Indians, who have Bieber, Plesac, Savali, Tristan McKenzie has a ton of talent, even though he's skinnier than me. But the Twins, if the Twins want to make the playoffs, it might have to be a wild card spot. I don't know if they can catch the White Sox.
Rocco Baldetti is one of my favorite managers in baseball. He was fantastic last year, but it's like you said, like what this whole segment is about. They're disappointing, and it sucks because I like the Twins.
They should be 20-12, not 12-20.
They should, yeah. Quite honestly, they have that talent on that team, and it sucks to see that because the Twins are a franchise who haven't had a whole lot of success since they've been a team.
Especially in the playoffs.
Right.
They've lost, 16 straight playoff games, and they've been knocked out by the Yankees 6 of their last 7 appearances. Ugh. Brutal. And I thought the Reds had bad playoff luck. But no, I think that the Twins right now, they only have a -2 run differential, so there's a little bit of bad luck in there. I think they're better than the Royals. I've been impressed with the Royals at times this year, but they're kind of falling back to earth. I think the Twins are a top 3 team in this division with the Indians and the White Sox. And personally, I think the Twins are better than the Indians. I really do. I think the Indians have a great rotation, but their offense is bottom 10 in the league. I think the Twins are a better baseball team. I just don't know if they can catch the White Sox, but I think if they get hot over the summer, which with the Bomba squad, it's definitely possible, I think they still get a shot at a wild card in the AL.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They the talent is definitely there. They're just going through like a bit of a feeling out period, I think, similar to what the Dodgers are. Right. And I mean that leads us into our next point. They've disappointed the hell out of me over the last few weeks.
I wrote in my notes the IL capital of the world.
Right. Everybody is injured.
Yeah.
Everybody
When's
is
Bellinger
injured.
coming back?
I don't know. They said he was supposed to come back last week, but now it's going to be like another 2 weeks. I don't know. Robert, I mean, that's the thing that
it's like a pitcher when he strains his oblique. He's just going to miss a start or two, and then it turns into 4 months.
What infuriates me about Dave Roberts is he's never honest with his IL stuff.
Yeah, he's not transparent at all, and that's how managers are. I mean, it's like I said, it's like with a pitcher. They strain their lat or strain their oblique, and it's like, oh, it's just precautionary. He's only going to miss like 1 start. He'll be back next week, and then he's out 4 months.
Bellinger's been out almost a month now.
Dustin May's out for the year,
which sucks because he was terrible.
He was pitching really well.
Yeah.
Urias has been really good.
He has,
but he's basically been the ace of the staff. Buehler's had an up and down season, but we know he's talented. Kershaw, I don't know what to expect with Kershaw anymore. I still look at the name and think Clayton Kershaw, but he's not the Clayton Kershaw of 5 years ago.
He's definitely had a bit of a resurgence over the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's for me, it's rocky with Kershaw. He's either on or he's off. Like there'll be a game he'll go 6 full and allow maybe 1 run, if that. And there'll be games like in Chicago last weekend, he was done after the first inning.
Right.
So you don't know what to expect.
Right. Yeah, no, and then they have Trevor Bauer. And Bauer's great.
Bauer made news yesterday. He said,
really good.
He goes, we're not living up to the potential of what we have, and he's upset with the Dodgers. And I completely agree.
He's right. Bauer's always been a dude that's not afraid to speak his mind, and I respect that about him. And, he's absolutely right. The Dodgers, with the talent on that team, with the amount of money in that payroll, I get injuries are a thing, and it happens to everyone, but the Dodgers should never be 18-17 the first week of May.
They are blowing through the luxury tax, and the Dodgers can do it because their owners have more money than anybody in the world, but the talent that they have on this team should not reflect 18-17.
The Dodgers AAA team should be able to beat the team that's in first place right now in the West, the San Francisco Giants.
So, personally, what makes me very upset is the Chicago Cubs started out horribly.
Oh, they're terrible.
They are 17-17. The Dodgers are a half game ahead of them right now.
The Reds took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, and the Reds are only a game under. So.
I know. You bothered me for days.
And I still will. You don't come to Cincinnati until September, so I get 4 months of enjoying this.
I have no words anymore. I have no words anymore.
Let's just get into the team that's in first right now in the West, the San Francisco Giants. Their pitching has been so good this year. Gausman, DeSclafani, Cueto's had a little bit of a revival to his career. The Giants weren't supposed to be this good. What is Gabe Kapler doing?
The Giants, I love Gabe Kapler. I loved him in Philadelphia. He's like one of my favorite managers in baseball. But like I said, I hate the Giants, and it makes me very angry that they're in first place.
Mm-hmm.
If it was the Padres, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But it's the Giants of all people.
Yeah.
The 3 teams that are supposed to be in the basement of this division are Arizona, Colorado, and the Giants.
Yeah. And the Giants are doing exactly what first place teams need to do, and that's defend home field. And the Giants are 12-4 at home this year at Oracle Park. And like I said, they've capitalized. Obviously, San Francisco is notorious for being a pitcher-friendly park. They've capitalized on having really good pitching. And it bugs me because they're basically the San Francisco Reds with Kurt Casale, with, they had Billy Hamilton for a stretch last year, but now 2 of their 3 big starters are Johnny Cueto, who's probably the best Reds starter over the last decade, and Anthony DeSclafani, who had 4 really solid years with the Reds, had a down year last year. We let him walk in free agency, and now he's back to being all-star Tony Disco with the Giants. So the Giants are just, part of me expects them to fall back down to earth, but part of me thinks the way they're winning is sustainable. They might be able to do this.
Yeah, it's the Giants bother me. A lot of teams bother me. I'm bothered. I'm a bothered person, apparently.
You're like the leadoff hitter with less patience.
Just like in our intro.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
He's the two-hole hitter.
So disappointing. So disappointing. This is not the baseball rant wasn't supposed to happen today, for me at least. I know you're going to have a segment or a few minutes here to complain about the Reds, but I mean, the Dodgers are just, they just bother me.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you have this much talent and be 500?
Yeah.
A game over 500.
How can you be fighting with the freaking, Cubs and Reds instead of fighting with the Padres and Mets and National or Braves and all them? What?
Confuses me, man. I'm serious.
Yeah.
It
was supposed to be Padres and Dodgers and then everyone else. And right now it's freaking Giants and Mets and everyone else.
I don't get it.
I don't either.
I don't get it.
And how about the Central with the Brewers and the Cardinals? I mean, I knew the Cardinals would be pretty good, but the Brewers have really exceeded expectations. And when we talk about our top 10 starting pitchers here in just a minute, I've got 2 Brewers on that list. And the Brewers might be, I hate the Cardinals the most out of any team in the division, but the Brewers might be my least favorite team to play because they're really good. They have good pitchers, and the Reds can't seem to beat them. And that bugs me because every time we go to Milwaukee or they come to Cincinnati, we always have to face these 2 guys, and they're freaking dominant. So we'll get into that here in just a second. But yeah, the Reds are just inconsistent. The first 2 weeks of the season, we thought the Reds might run away with the Central because the Cardinals were inconsistent. The Brewers and the Cubs couldn't score. The Pirates are the Pirates. And then the Reds decided to lose 5 of 6 to the Diamondbacks and then go out and beat the Dodgers. Like, what are you? You're supposed to, if you're going to be a mediocre team, you're supposed to lose to good teams and beat bad teams. But the Reds decided to lose to bad teams and beat good teams. They're 4-4 in their last 8 games while getting outscored by 25 runs. So that's a blessing. But also, I don't get it. What is wrong with the Reds? Figure it out. Luis Castillo has a 6 ERA. Figure it out. Our best 2 pitchers this year have been Tyler Mahle and Wade Miley, Mr. No-Hitter, by the way. But what? Wade Miley should not be the ace of a staff. That's wrong. And there's my rant. So there you go.
I don't know. Castillo is, he didn't pitch horrible in that game we went to a couple weeks ago.
Everyone says that Castillo doesn't pitch well in cold weather, and I get that that's kind of a thing for Dominican pitchers, that they struggle in colder weather because they can't feel their fingers, and you got to be able to feel the ball and know what you're throwing.
Apparently.
It's not an excuse when you're getting paid what Luis Castillo is getting paid, and when you have the expectations that Luis Castillo has. I mean, if you want this big paycheck coming at the end of the year, where you're the ace of the Reds for the next 5-6 years, you want that $25 million a year. You got to pitch at any time of the year. We can't wait for June for you to get going because there's teams that are out of the race in June. So if Luis Castillo wants to be the next big ace of the Cincinnati Reds, he's got to be good from April to October, and there's no excuses.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's like having the tolerance of Clayton Kershaw as a 5 ERA every year until June, and then he just doesn't allow a run until September. And you're like, oh, well, it's okay. He's so good in the summer. If you want to be an ace, you got to be good for 6 months. You can't have your 3-month stretch.
No, and that's what Kershaw's done the last few years. Granted, last year in the postseason he was brilliant, but it's like what we've talked about. Like you just said, he's going to be good until the end of this month, and then he's going to be okay until the end of this month,
and then he's going to take off. He's
going to turn it on
when the weather's 80 degrees. Luis Castillo is unhittable.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's move on here to our
top 10 pitchers. This is exciting. I'm great. I'll throw off my honorable mentions first because I think this is fun. I have John Means. I think he's been so good this year. I had to put him in my honorable mentions.
Okay.
I have Chris Sale in my honorable mentions. I know he's been hurt, but I still think he's a top tier pitcher when he's healthy, and he's supposed to come back here in the next month or 2. I have Jack Flaherty in my honorable mentions. I think Flaherty's a little overrated by Cardinals fans, but he's still the ace of a playoff team. And he's 5-0 right now, I think. Leads the league in wins with like a 3.2 ERA, so he's been good. I have Lance Lynn in my honorable mentions. I think he's one of the more underrated pitchers in the league. I think he's better than Keuchel, and I think if the White Sox didn't have another guy who's in my top 10, he'd be the ace of that staff. And then I also have Joe Musgrove. He threw a no-hitter a couple weeks ago. I've been really impressed with the growth of Joe Musgrove over the last 2 years. I think he's a top 15 pitcher right now. So that's my 5 honorable mentions.
Okay, so I have 5 as well. Aaron Nola.
Okay.
In my
I
honorable
love
mention.
Nola. He's probably like 16 or 17 for me.
Kershaw's not in my top 10. He was an honorable mention,
Okay.
but it's just strictly due to inconsistency. I'm not,
I agree.
Not putting him in my top 10 there. Hunchun Ryu in Toronto.
Ryu's good too.
He's in my honorable mentions. I love him. And then Flaherty and Sell, just like same points with you. So,
All right, so let's start with number 1. That's going to be easy. Jacob deGrom.
Yeah.
He's the best on the planet at what he does.
What sucks is he does not have any run support because the Mets are terrible.
Not at all. The Mets score like 6 runs a game every day that DeGrom isn't pitching, and then they love to lose 1-0 on days that DeGrom is pitching. It's like, stop. Give that man some run support. But no, I think I don't want to say any opinion is wrong, but your opinion is pretty weak if you don't think Jacob deGrom's the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah.
Jacob
completely
deGrom
agree.
is the best pitcher on the planet.
No doubt in my mind. He's
the best at what he does.
He's unhittable.
Yeah. And the second best pitcher for me, I don't know if you agree with this, also comes from New York City. I've got Garrett Cole, the ace of the Yankees.
So I put Bieber here at number 2.
That's a good debate.
That's because
Bieber's been really good the last 2 years.
Cole is my 3, but
Bieber's my 3.
I've put Bieber here because he's just been downright dominant, and he's been in Cleveland's ace for Terry Francona
since they traded Kluber
for 2 years.
Yeah,
and he's been fantastic. I think he won the Cy Young last year.
He did.
So there's just no debate really with how good he's been.
Yeah, and I have Bieber at 3. I totally agree. I think DeGrom, Bieber, and Cole are most people's top 3. You could flip-flop the order a little bit, but I think that's the top 3 pitchers in the league.
Yeah, if you flip-flop the order, I hope it's between Bieber and Cole and not DeGrom.
Leave DeGrom at 1. That's a lock. Number 4, I have Max Scherzer.
I agree.
I think that, he's gotten older. I've kind of expected a little bit of a fall-off. He had, an up-and-down year last year, but this year so far, he's been Mad Max. And Scherzer, when he's on his game, is still a top 5 pitcher in the league.
So I think the coolest thing about Scherzer is he has 2 different colored eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's awesome.
And the night that he bunted off his face and had a nasty black eye and then came out and threw like 8 shutout innings.
He's just so cool.
He's so cool.
How do you, I don't know, you take a pitch to the face, then go out and throw.
Probably have a fractured eye socket.
For real. And then just go out and throw 8 shutout innings.
Against the Yankees, I think. I think it was against the Yankees.
Dude's just so good.
Yeah. Number 5, this is a little bit, I don't think it's controversial, but it's maybe a little higher than most people would put him. I have Lucas Giolito at number 5.
Okay. I put Walker Buehler here.
Okay.
That's not me being biased, I promise.
No, Buehler's a top 3 pitcher. He's in my top 10.
So I put Walker Buehler here, and it's you could really, if you wanted to, you could put the 3 Dodgers pitchers in that top 10.
You could.
I have 2 of the 3 in my top 10.
I do too.
So it's, I put Buehler here just because he's been really, as much as I love him, Kershaw's not the Dodgers ace anymore. It's Buehler.
It's Buehler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at 6, I put Bauer.
6, I have Corbin Burns. I think
really,
yeah, Corbin Burns. I know it's a small sample size, and this guy 2 years ago had a 9 ERA, but that cutter is disgusting. Probably the best cutter in the league. Also throws a 97-mile-an-hour sinker with a changeup, a curveball, and a slider. This guy has the stuff.
So gross.
And this year, I know he's kind of got I forget. Oh, he had he got put on the injured list, which you know what that means. If he's not put on the IL, but he's put on the injured list in 2021, that means that there's something going on with the pandemic. So expect Corbin Burns to be back within a week or 2. But this guy, I think, is like 4-1 with like a .89 ERA. His whip's like .6. He had 40 strikeouts before he issued his first walk this year. Corbin Burns is disgusting, and he's, I think, become the ace of the Brewers, and he's a really good pitcher, and he's one of the 2 or 3 guys that I fear facing every time the Reds face him. So I have Burns at 6. Number 7 is my first Dodgers pitcher. I have Trevor Bauer at number 7.
Okay.
You can make the argument for Buehler. I just think Bauer is the reigning Cy Young Award winner. I think Bauer has more of a longer sample size. I think Bauer is a top-tier pitcher. I do think Buehler's the ace, but I think right now Bauer has the better stuff, and Bauer is probably the more consistent pitcher.
So my 7th pitcher is Brandon Woodruff.
Woodruff's also in my top 10.
Awesome.
He's really
in
good.
Milwaukee this year. I love Craig Counsell, even though, Dodgers had to go through them in back-to-back years in the conference series, but I love Counsell. I love the Brewers organization.
Right.
They're just awesome.
Yeah.
So Woodruff is my 7th. 8, I put Giolito at 8.
8, I have Yu Darvish.
Okay.
I think he's been really good with the Padres. He obviously had a great year with the Cubs. The Cubs screwed up that trade so bad. How do you walk away with Zach Davies and who do they get in that deal? Zach Davies and some 17-year-old prospect that they have no idea how he's going to pan out because he's 17.
Yeah.
So you gave up Yu Darvish, and Yu Darvish is great. And so I have Yu Darvish because he has 11 different changeups that he throws, and he's just really good. He's the ace of the Padres. I don't think there's much debate about that.
No.
I mean, Snell's really good. Lamette's really good, but Darvish is the ace. Darvish has been there before. Darvish is the dude that if you got to win a Game 5 of the NLDS, you're putting Yu Darvish on the mound.
Yeah, I would agree.
Number 9, I have Walker Buehler.
Okay.
Very similar to what you said. He's the ace of the Dodgers now. He's got the stuff, the slider, the curveball, the 99-mile-an-hour fastball. He's got the confidence. He's got the swagger. This guy's a top-tier pitcher. I have him at number 9, but he might be top 5 by the end of the year.
So my 9th pitcher is Darvish.
Okay.
I put Darvish up there for all the reasons you just said. He's the Padres ace for Jace Tingler. He's been fantastic all year long. And really, the year he was with the Dodgers, it was the cheater year. But he was great in Chicago, and he's
really good
continued to be great in San Diego. So Darvish is my 9th pitcher. At 10, I have Tyler Glasnow.
Oh, Glasnow should be an honorable mention for me. He's carried my fantasy team this year. At 10, I have Woodruff.
Okay.
98-mile-an-hour fastball, disgusting changeup. He's also got a really strong slider. Exactly what you said. Woodruff and Burns. Flaherty gets the rep as being the best pitcher in the division. Castillo gets the rep of being an all-star caliber pitcher.
Yeah.
If there's two pitchers that I fear facing in the Central, it's Burns and Woodruff. I don't like facing those two. I think the Reds have a shot of hitting Flaherty. Flaherty's really good, but he throws 94, 95. Burns and Woodruff throw 97, 98 with disgusting off-speed stuff. I don't like facing them, so I have Woodruff at 10. I think he's the ace of the Brewers staff. I think Burns is more talented, but I think Woodruff's the ace.
Yeah.
And if the Brewers end up playing in a wild card game or something, they're going to put Woodruff on the mound.
Yeah.
But Glasnow's a total stud. So I totally get why you put him there.
No doubt.
He might replace, honestly, Musgrove in my honorable mention. I love Musgrove, but Glasnow's a stud.
Yeah. I almost put John Means in there, but I refrained from it just because of the sample size. I haven't seen a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
I know he threw a no-hitter last week, but
he's got like a 1.6 ERA this year.
Yeah. For an Orioles team, that's not good.
No. They only win once every 5 days, and it's when he pitches.
Yeah. Right. But there's so many. There's so many talented pitchers that could have made this list. Could have made the honorable mentions list, but I know how we both feel about the our respective lists.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's how I break down my top 10.
Yep.
I know we have very similar top 3s, but
yeah, and most of our top 10 was similar, just in a different order.
Yeah,
we both had Darvish, we both had Woodruff, we both had Buehler, we both had Giolito. So it's very similar. All right, well, we're going to step away. We're a segment behind right now, but that's the beauty of daily sports talk. So when we come back, we're moving into the NFL. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, it's like keeping up with the Kardashians right here.
Honestly.
It is. And we'll also talk about my 3 winners and my 3 losers of the NFL draft, and also a Bleacher Report article about the most improved teams of the 2021 offseason. I think there's some good in that article, but I think there's also some blasphemy. That's the 3rd time we've said that this show. But it's Keep It Real with Testa and Neal. Make sure you keep it locked. Hour number 2 coming up next.
Pass it on. Now's the time to stay apart. Social distancing. But I'm adding something else. Pull together. What's pulling together while we're staying apart? It's calling family to check in on them. It's waving to your neighbor. It's the things we should have been doing all along. And when this tragedy passes and we're able to come together, we'll be stronger than ever because we've already pulled together. Stay apart. Pull together.
Pass it on.
From passiton.com.
You are now listening to WWSU 106.9 FM, Fairborn, Dayton, Dayton's right choice.
Hey, everyone. Check out Rush Week 2021, presented by Alpha Sig Eta Psi here on campus. To find out more information, check out their Instagram at ALPHASIGS_WSU. You're going to love it.
Pass it on. This time of upheaval is causing me to look a little deeper inside myself, looking for some goodness. And this is what I've found. I'm more aware of my neighbor's well-being. I'm saying thanks to those who help keep my life as normal as possible. My mail carrier, my grocery cashier, my delivery person. I find myself caring about others instead of just looking out for myself. And oh, my goodness, does it feel good. Goodness is in you.
Pass it on.
From passiton.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
I asked what kind of family she wanted. She said, a family like yours.
Learn more about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Melissa from Michigan. I work an extra part-time job serving lunch at my child's school, but I still can't afford to put food on our table.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
They say singing can help you remember things, so here's some tips for parents out there during these tough times.
Number 1. Make sure your kids wash their hands for 20 seconds after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside. 2. Virtual play dates. Social and physical distancing can help save lives. 3. Tell them they're safe and show your love and pride. Yes, we'll get through this together.
Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
This is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
My mother was very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign and she wasn't even really sure where she was at.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
They say singing can help you remember things, so here's some tips for parents out there during these tough times.
Number 1. Make sure your kids wash their hands for 20 seconds after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside. 2. Virtual play dates. Social and physical distancing can help save lives. 3. Tell them they're safe and show your love and pride. Yes, we'll get through this together.
Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
So
Social distancing slows the spread of coronavirus, so if you have a fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going in. More info at coronavirus.gov. Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Pass it on.
Now's the time to stay apart. Social distancing. But I'm adding something else. Pull together. What's pulling together while we're staying apart? It's calling family to check in on them. It's waving to your neighbor. It's the things we should have been doing all along. And when this tragedy passes and we're able to come together, we'll be stronger than ever because we've already pulled together. Stay apart. Pull together.
Pass it on.
From passiton.com.
Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm a Wright State alumni, and this is my daughter.
Hi, I'm Anya.
And you are listening to WWSU 106.9 FM, Dayton's right and only choice.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can. But it's just as important to take time for yourself. AARP can help. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You are listening to Testa and Neal. Keep it real right here on Dayton's Right Choice, WWSU 106.9 FM. Back here on Testa and Neal, keep it real right here on WWSU 106.9 FM. Thank you for joining us. Hour number 2. Let's go, buddy.
Fire back too, by the way. That was
I appreciate
good.
it.
Really
I appreciate it. It took me like 2 minutes, but it's awesome.
Hey, we don't have to tell them the secrets of radio. Almost everything we do that sounds cool takes like 2 minutes. But let's pretend that we put like 6 hours of work into that.
Yes, let's do it. So
NFL time.
Yeah, we're a segment behind, like you said, but it's okay.
Yeah,
it's the beauty of sports radio, like you said.
If we don't get to something, we just push it back till tomorrow.
Yes,
and it's less work for us tomorrow writing the show.
Exactly.
I love this gig.
This Aaron Rodgers drama has been fascinating to follow along with. To say the least.
It's got the same amount of drama as freaking like Jersey Shore. It's bad. It's bad.
I mean,
and Devontae Adams is on Cowherd today. I don't know what the heck he's going to get him to say, but I'm going to watch that interview.
Me too. I mean, I don't know. The Packers are just a mess.
Aaron Rodgers right now, have you seen the scene from, God, what's that movie called? But when the dude quits at the burger restaurant and he just points at everyone and says, F you, F you, F you, you're cool, F you, I'm out. Devontae Adams is the you're cool guy, and then everyone else, Aaron Rodgers, is like, goodbye.
Yeah. And I guess what I've heard from that the only way Aaron Rodgers comes back is if they fire the GM, Brian Gutekunst, I think is his name. Yeah. And I mean, I don't think there's many people who can have that control over an organization after like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning I don't think Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys.
Mahomes might have that power now.
Maybe because he's being paid half of the U.S. Treasury, yeah. But I don't
say that as a joke, but he honestly is.
Right. But
my man signed a $500 million contract.
I don't care who you are. Nobody is worth that amount of money.
No.
Personally. No one is worth that much money.
No.
Even Mike Trout is getting paid $450. I don't think he's worth that.
No. You just can't let a guy like that walk. So you just give them what they want, but they're not worth that. No.
Yeah.
We just saw how the Albert Pujols contract played out.
Yeah.
Albert Pujols was worth that amount of money, 2 years in L.A.? Maybe. Yeah. Maybe 1. Yeah, no. He was getting benched for Jared Walsh last year. Jared Walsh is a stud. And I don't mean that to sound like I'm bashing him, but come on, man. You're getting paid $30 million and you're getting benched for a guy named Jared Walsh who was a 37th round pick. Are you kidding me? Bro. But no. Let's get into this. Winners and losers of the NFL draft. I'm excited about this. Rodgers, I don't know how that's going to play
There's not a whole lot to say other than nobody knows how it's going to work out.
Here's an interesting thing, though. I read today. I thought it was, Niners or Broncos, where Broncos can throw in maybe Surtain and Locke and a couple picks. And
you think they give up Surtain?
They might have to.
Huh.
And then the Niners give up Lance, a couple picks and stuff like that. Maybe they take Garoppolo's contract. I don't know. But I saw something today. Maybe the Dolphins emerge.
That's interesting.
Give up Tua.
That's interesting. Tua or Brissett.
Rodgers to Miami.
Huh. That's interesting. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, I think it'd have to be Tua. If the Packers are high on Tua, I think because the Packers hold a lot of leverage here. I mean,
based on what I've seen from Tua, I don't want him, but that's just 1 year.
Yeah, exactly.
He could emerge as one of the best quarterbacks
and
in
LaFleur's
football.
offense, who knows?
Yeah, honestly, but
and with a receiver like Devontae Adams, I mean, I feel like I could play quarterback and be decent. So because Devontae Adams is maybe the best receiver in the league right now. But yeah, I think the Packers. I don't think Rodgers comes back to Green Bay. It's just kind of where he ends up. I wouldn't be. I mean, Miami's kind of emerged though. I always kind of thought San Fran. I thought I kind of wanted to go back home to Cali, host Jeopardy, in LA, and play for the Niners. But unless the Niners give up Trey Lance, I don't know if they can put a package together that makes the Packers say yes.
That's tough.
It's
tough. I mean,
do you give up a guy with the ceiling of Lance for 3 years of the MVP? Because he's 37 years old.
I personally, I would not want to be in Gutekunst's situation right now as GM of the Packers because you're just kind of a loser.
If you trade Rodgers, the fan base revolts. If you don't trade Rodgers, Rodgers revolts.
It's
a lose-lose.
If you trade him, fan base hates you. You probably get fired. If you don't trade him,
he doesn't play. You get fired.
You get fired.
Yeah.
So it's not a good situation for Brian Gutekunst in Green Bay right now. Yeah. Granted, he hasn't given Rodgers help at all. At least in the first round, I saw a graphic.
Jordan Love, baby.
I saw a graphic on Twitter of the second round talent that the Green Bay has given: Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings. There's, just to name a few.
AJ Dillon's going to get more run this year.
Yeah. And nobody knows what the Packers are going to do. Nobody. I want to sit here in Fairborn, Ohio, like I know, but I don't. I don't even think Green Bay knows.
No, I don't think they do either. So let's get into this draft winners and losers. We also have an article that we're going to talk about the most improved teams over the course of the whole offseason. But for the draft, my first winner is the Patriots. I think
I would agree with that.
Mac Jones fell to Bill Belichick at 15. They also get who I think is a first-round talent, Christian Barmore, in the second round to be a new defensive tackle, maybe move him out to the edge. And then they get Ronnie Perkins in round 3, who I think is really good value for the third round, and he has a potential to be a solid edge rusher. They get some depth at running back and linebacker and a wide receiver in the 7th round who has some really good speed. I think Belichick, we talk about how Belichick's one of the greatest coaches ever, but he's a terrible GM. I think he kicked ass in this draft.
I do too.
I really do.
Yeah. So we talk about how Bill, like you just said, he's not a great GM, but a great coach. I think his dog could do a better job running the team than he can. But
but I have not much to critique here.
No, not at all. He killed this draft. I think there was a little bit of luck involved that Mac Jones fell to 15, but he takes him. Who wouldn't? I think Cam Newton. We all know Cam Newton played atrociously last year in New England. I'm not a Cam Newton fan.
They also have Stidham. And they have Mac Jones.
Stidham is the forgotten guy on this roster right now.
Belichick likes Stidham a lot.
Yeah. And I don't know.
They almost started Stidham over Cam last year.
Yeah. And someone argued that they should have.
Probably. He couldn't have been much worse.
No. 7 and 9. Are you kidding me?
With 6 passing touchdowns on the season.
Granted, half of their defense opted out. And they're getting
Dante Hightower
some,
back.
if not all of those players back.
They lost Jason McCourty, but they're getting Devin McCourty back.
Right.
I think they're getting Patrick Chung back, Dante Hightower. Didn't they re-sign Jamie Collins?
Not sure.
I can't remember.
I don't know.
It's a good defense when
is.
They're fully together. They have a corner, J.C. Jackson, as well as Stephon Gilmore. Gilmore had kind of an up and down year last year, but I still think Gilmore's a top 10 corner in the league. He's not the best corner in the division anymore because there's Xavier Howard and Trey White, but he's still really good.
They did not re-sign Collins. Collins is in Detroit.
Ah, interesting. With the old Patricia regime.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think the Patriots are a good team. I don't think they're.
I do too.
I don't think they're going to win the division because I think the Bills are the second best team in the AFC.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Patriots got a wild card spot next year.
I wouldn't either. And granted, this is all fringent on whether if Mac Jones is any good.
Yeah.
Or
you just run QB draw with Cam Newton all year again.
Please don't. It's not fun football to watch.
No, it's not. Rex Burkhead gets the majority of the carries.
And that's not Bill's offense.
No.
It's never been Bill's offense. Granted, maybe it was Tom Brady's offense, but it's not Bill's offense.
I'd love to see Tom Brady run a QB draw next year. That'd be
so awesome.
That'd be so funny. Shotgun snap, Brady takes off at 43.
Arians just says, "Screw it, Brady, with your 7-second 40 time. We're running a QB draw from the 10-yard line. Go."
Cam Jordan makes him need 2 hip replacements. No, it wouldn't end well for Tom.
Not at all.
No. All right, so second winner for me, Chicago Bears. I love what the Bears did, trading up to get Justin Fields. They get Tevin Jenkins in the second round, who I think is a first-round caliber tackle. I think he's right behind Darisaw in terms of talent.
Yeah.
And then later on in the draft, the value in the 6th round of getting Khalil Herbert out of Virginia Tech, who can be depth if Tariq Cohen isn't ready to go. Tariq Cohen blew his knee out last year. If Tariq Cohen isn't ready to go, this guy can help out David Montgomery, get some carries early on. And then they get Daz Newsome in the 6th round. You know how good Daz Newsome was for Sam Howell in North Carolina last year? Daz Newsome was their best receiver for a team that was ranked in the top 10.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I love what Matt Nagy and company did. I know he's not Ryan Pace, I guess. Ryan Pace and company did.
I always think Matt Nagy does everything.
I think so,
honestly.
too, because you never hear of the general manager of the Bears.
No.
Never.
Because they don't do anything.
No, they don't. And I did the last segment of the morning show this morning with Scotty and Patrick, but we talked about the Bears, and I think Andy Dalton's the week 1 starter.
Oh, I agree.
So because
I think Dalton starts 4 to 6 weeks.
Because if he does not start week 1, everybody's going to take that Instagram post where they say QB1 of Dalton in the Bears uniform and just say, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah. No.
So
I agree with you. I think Dalton starts for the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season. If things are going well, why change it?
Yeah.
But if things aren't going well, which with Andy Dalton, you never really know. But if the Bears are 3-3 or 2-4 and they need a spark going into the bye week, that's when you call on Justin Fields.
Yeah, and really, I loved those photos of the new quarterbacks going to their new teams. You see Lawrence, and he's hey, and Lance is hey,
and Fields is
Mac Jones is hey, and you just Fields is
hey,
Chicago, really?
No. I think it's really. I mean, maybe he's not excited about being the quarterback of the Bears because it's not as fun as being the quarterback of the Jags, the quarterback of the Jets. But it's a really good situation for him. They need a couple more receivers, but if Daz Newsome can be good, they have Darnell Mooney. They have Allen Robinson still. It's not a bad team. Cole Kmet, they spent a very high round pick on Cole Kmet last year.
Yeah.
I think it's a team with weapons. Cohen, David Montgomery. Now you also have Khalil out of Virginia Tech. I think it's a team with weapons, and their defense is obviously very strong. This is a team that is really only going to need 24 points a game to get wins, and I think Justin Fields can give you 24 points a game.
And you don't touch the defense because it's one of the better defenses in football.
No, absolutely. Roquan Smith, Khalil Mack, Kyle Fuller. It's so good.
I think Adrian Amos is still there. What was that?
No, I'm sorry. Amos is with the Packers now. I think.
That's
they
right.
have Eddie Jackson.
What was that one?
Jackson.
Eddie Jackson.
Who's still a top-tier free safety in the league.
He is.
He ain't Jesse Bates as a Bengals fan, but he's still really good.
Yeah, and they have that whatever the hell that other clown's name is on the other side. But
that really narrows it down.
Yeah, that really
that
helps.
other clown on the other side.
There's I mean that's how I describe everybody, just another clown. But the Bears defense is fantastic to say the least.
And they really fixed that offense.
If this offense can be
above average,
what they're hoping it can be, I see the Bears as a 9-10 win team.
Honestly, a consistently average Bears offense might make the playoffs.
I think so. Yeah.
Honestly.
I would
if
agree
they
with
can
that.
consistently be average, it's probably a playoff team.
Yeah.
They might not win in the playoffs, but they'll get there.
For sure.
And if Justin Fields elevates this team to a new level where they average, 27, 28 points a game, they might win the North, especially because of the turmoil going on in Green Bay right now.
Yeah. The Vikings are an unknown. Who the hell knows what Detroit's going to be?
I like the Lions' new front office and their new head coach.
I do
but
too.
I don't think Jared Goff gets you over the hump in year one.
I don't think so either. I mean, he's
They'll
proven,
probably win 5 games.
He's proven. I'd give him a little bit more.
Maybe
than that.
6.
I'd give him probably 7.
Are you expecting the Vikings to also win 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's it's going to be one of those divisions where the winner of the division is 10-6.
Yeah, exactly.
So and that
maybe even 9-7. There might be 4 teams that are within 9 and 7 wins.
Right. It's going to be like the NFC East last year, where 7-9 wins the division.
Right.
And it's you don't know. I mean, nobody knows.
You really don't.
The NFC North is a confusing place right now. Along with, I mean, you can name a whole bunch of different divisions in football right now. Quite honestly, and I know I have one of my losers for the draft is the Houston Texans. And I mean,
I didn't put them on mine, but I figured that's because everyone knew that the Houston Texans are just a universal L. I mean, they don't take W's.
No, I mean, it
was kind of a given.
The Watson situation, no one knows how that's going to pan out.
They didn't have a first-round pick.
No.
They spent it all on Laramie Tunsil, who's good, but he's not worth 2 first-round picks.
No, not at all. And I think
their best receiver coming back is Will Fuller, who's good until he gets busted for PEDs.
Yeah,
it's just a mess. It's a mess.
There's so many.
Isn't there starting running back Carlos Hyde?
Maybe
he's like
Carlos
32
Hyde.
years old now. I love Carlos Hyde. He's a Buckeye, but he should not be a starting running back. Come on. It's bad. My final winner, though, I'll get into my final winner, the Cleveland Browns. And that pains me to say as a Bengals fan, but the value that they got in the first 2 rounds with Greg Newsome and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is unreal. Koramoah should have gone higher than 26 in the first round, and he went to 20 in the second round. And then in the middle rounds, getting James Hudson, who was a really successful right tackle at Cincinnati, can help out guys like Jack Conklin and guys like Wyatt Teller on that line. And then they also get Tommy Togiai out of Ohio State in the 4th round. Togiai was the best defensive lineman for the Buckeyes last year. And getting him in the late 4th round, I think, is a steal. And I think he'll be a day 1 impact player for the Browns defensive line.
So right now, the Texans starter is David Johnson.
Yeah, that'll last.
So they actually don't have a whole lot of, their running back room is not horrible at the moment where we sit right now. David Johnson, Mark Ingram they signed, and Philip Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not horrible. It's not as bad as I thought.
No.
But
it's not terrible.
The quarterback question is what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson? And their backup is probably
it's Ryan Finley.
Oh,
because they traded for him for the Bengals.
Okay.
Thank God they gave us a 7th round pick for that
Ryan
bum.
Mallett or something.
Thank God they gave the Bengals a 7th round pick for that bum. He beat the Steelers on Monday Night Football once, and everyone's like, "You're the GOAT." And I'm like, he has 3 touchdowns and 18 interceptions in his 2-year career, but okay. Yeah. He makes Andy Dalton look good.
Andy Dalton is not that good.
He made Brandon Allen look like a really good backup quarterback, and Brandon Allen's average at best as a backup. Let's just hope that Joe Burrow doesn't get hurt again, because the Bengals' backup quarterback situation's a roller coaster, to say the least. But my first loser of the draft, I have the Green Bay Packers. Not just because of the Rodgers situation, but also they took Eric Stokes in the first round, which I think is a big reach. I'd take him in the late 2nd. Josh Myers in the 2nd round, I don't mind that pick. I think he'll be a good, suitable replacement for Corey Linsley. But then, they got Aaron Rodgers. If they're trying to talk Aaron Rodgers into coming back, they got him 1 wide receiver, and it was Amari Rodgers, who played behind Cornell Powell, T. Higgins. And he had a medical condition, if I recall correctly. I don't remember how serious it was, but let me look that up. But Amari Rodgers just doesn't have the run that some of these other receivers do. So you're trying to talk Aaron Rodgers into coming back with a 3rd round wide receiver that has 1 solid year of college football, and then you reach for a 3rd round corner in the 1st round. I don't think anything, including the Aaron Rodgers situation, nothing went Green Bay's way last week.
No, not at all. We've talked about them already, but the Packers are just a mess. We'll get into basketball here in a few minutes, but they're like the Pacers right now. I tweeted the other day, I said dumpster fire. That's what the Packers are right now.
It's the worst.
Dumpster fire. And it's I don't hate the Packers. I'm not a Packers fan by any means, but I don't mind them.
No.
And
they're a neutral team.
I like to see them do good.
I like Rodgers. I like to see Rodgers do well.
I like Rodgers. So that's kind of, you have to like the Packers if you like Rodgers.
If you want Rodgers to do well, you got to expect the Packers to do well.
Yeah. And we've seen, when Rodgers broke his collarbone 2 years ago, they're not good without Rodgers.
No, because they never built around him.
And from everything that I hear on, well, I mean, I have no sources, and I'm not an NFL aficionado. I'm not Adam Schefter. But from everything that I've seen and everything I've heard, Jordan Love is not ready for the NFL.
Nope.
And it's what they and I've seen on Twitter, and I heard on Colin Cowherd the other day. You ask people who have seen Jordan Love play right now, and this is what they say: there's work to be done, and that's the ultimate sign of he's not NFL ready.
No. And when you're, in your second year and people are still saying he's not ready, how much patience do you have? Because next year you're going to have to make a decision about it, his fifth-year option. And, they took this guy hoping that he'd be the replacement to Rodgers, but they didn't expect it to be this fast. So
no.
Do you do this now, or do you believe in Jordan Love and just kind of let him grow as he plays, or do you pull the trigger on a deal for like a Garoppolo or like a Tua Tagovailoa or like a Trey Lance? It'll be interesting to see. Like you said, the Packers front office is basically in a lose-lose situation, but it'll be interesting to see what route they decide to go. It might just end up being the lesser of two evils.
We are on YouTube today. It's the Perspectives YouTube channel.
We're getting our own one worked out.
Yeah, even though the Perspective isn't airing right now, it's on that channel. We're in the works of getting our own WWSU YouTube channel set up, but we wanted to bring you our content as many ways as possible, so that's one way we're doing that. We will let you know whenever that YouTube channel is live. We will be going live on that here shortly. But let's move into one of my more exciting the segment that I was most excited about for today is the biggest what ifs in sports history. And what would it be like now if those outcomes had changed?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a segment that we did once on another station that I work for, but it was so fun. And I'm going to start a little bit local, and it's going to pull some heartstrings a little bit, but there's so many different routes you can go. I have like 12 on here, and it's just my favorite ones. So the first one, by the way, Rappaport just tweeted this. I know we just moved out of NFL. The Jags are signing Tim Tebow to a 1-year deal.
I saw this last week.
T-Goat is back.
Why? He's... I don't get it.
Yep.
What, is he going to play tight end?
Yep.
Oh.
Urban Meyer's giving him a shot. All right. So my first two, like I said, are local. What if, and I'm sorry, Wright State fans, if anyone's listening that's a Wright State basketball fan, this is going to hurt. What if Wright State didn't blow that 24-point lead to Milwaukee? I will be the first to say I thought that team was going to win it all in the Horizon
I did too.
League. I thought that team was going to win a game in the NCAA tournament. I really did. Tim Finke, Tanner Holden, Loudon Love, Grant Basile.
We thought it would be the men, and the women did it.
Right. I was set from like January. If this team gets a team like, Minnesota, like Creighton, like something like that, they got a shot. They really do. I thought if they won that conference tournament, they were going to go into the tournament as a 13 seed, and 13s beat 4s quite a bit. So I really thought if that team didn't lose that lead to Milwaukee, I think we'd be talking about maybe two basketball teams that got NCAA tournament wins this year, which would be probably the most mind-blowing accomplishment the school's ever seen.
Yeah, I thought this team was they were very top-heavy. They didn't have a lot of depth. We saw that all year long. They had, a couple of players off the bench like Hubricks, like
Jalen Hall.
And I know Finke came off the bench occasionally, but he started most of the time. But they were very top-heavy. I think that's what held this team back.
Yeah.
They
ran 6-7 guys every night.
Yeah, we talked about it on our broadcast this year. It seemed like they would take nights off, and I think they took that night against Milwaukee off. They thought they were going to win that game, and they weren't ready to John Lucas and what's the other guy's name? Golston.
DeAndre Golston.
Yeah, so they weren't ready for him, and I know me, you, and Scotty sat there in the arena while you guys called the game, and we're just like, what in the heck is happening right now? Mm-hmm. Milwaukee should not beat Wright State in the quarterfinals.
Never, ever. No, it's not. Milwaukee's not a bad program, but it's two different programs in two totally different spots. Milwaukee goes into the season with the expectation we'd love to finish in the top half of the conference. Wright State says title or bust. If we lose, it's a bad season.
Yeah.
back-to-back years now where Wright State's come up short in the Horizon League tournament, and it feels like a disappointing season. They were the 1 seed. They were the team that everyone wanted. Everyone said look out for. This past year they were the 2 seed. Cleveland State was the 1 seed, but everyone said look out for this team, and I mean it just feels like a disappointing season. I think Wright State and Northern Kentucky are the only 2 teams in this conference that hold themselves to that standard. If we don't win the Horizon League championship, it's an L.
I would agree with that statement. Yeah. And we both know the rivalry between Wright State and NKU.
That's why it's a rivalry, because
exactly.
It's the 2 teams that have the highest expectations of each other.
Yeah.
It feels like every single year when Wright State and NKU play, it's going to be a title fight because it's the 2 teams that are fighting for the title.
So I think if they win this quarterfinals game, I think we see them in the championship game.
I agree. And I think they beat Cleveland State in that championship game.
Think so?
I do.
Huh.
You're talking about Wright State, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they beat Cleveland State. I think it's a team that gets to the tournament. I think it's a team that wins a game in the tournament.
See,
I really do.
The tough thing for me is how good that Oakland team was. I know none of you guys thought Oakland was going to win. I was the one person that picked Oakland to beat.
Yeah. I couldn't bet against Quisenberry.
I mean, I know. It was tough.
Yeah.
And but props to Greg Campy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been Oakland's head coach for
34
all
years
of their existence, it seems like.
Yeah.
But he's a hell of a coach.
Yeah.
I would put him number 2 in this conference behind Nagy.
Yeah. Dennis Gates is up there too now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think Oakland's got a lot of, and Oakland's a very young team. I'd expect them to be back next year. So the other local one I wanted to hit on before we get into some more general ones, what if the 2020 NCAA tournament wasn't canceled? And I know that's something that a lot of people kind of look back on and say, well, that's unfortunate. But I really thought UD could have won it all with Jalen Crutcher and Obi
They would
Toppin.
have came close.
They would have been a 1 seed. I think that chemistry that they had with Ibby Watson, with Obi Toppin, with Trey Landers, I think that it was a team that was going to get to the Final Four.
I would agree with that. Yeah, they were a very good team. And Toppin was certainly the lifeblood of that team.
Toppin was the best player in college basketball.
Sure was. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, this is all, of course, hypotheticals. But
and that's the beauty of this segment.
Exactly. And you could, I don't know, you could go on for hours about, Toppin couldn't do this or Dayton struggled here. But the truth of the matter is they were one of the best teams in college basketball last year. And, 2 years ago now. But they had the talent. And, I mean, you guys, everyone kind of craps on Archie Miller, but I'm not sure. You know his name. What's the coach?
Anthony Grant.
Yeah. I mean, he's done a great job at Dayton. And that last year was the pinnacle. I mean, there's no telling
what
the
best Dayton team in the last 50 years.
And there's no telling what the team would have done in the NCAA tournament. But
that's what hurts the most.
Yeah.
Because Dayton's not a Duke, not a Kentucky. They don't get there and have that kind of a team very often. And the one time that it felt like they had a team that might be able to win it all, unfortunately, it was taken away from them before they could see if it was a team that could win it all.
For sure. I know you have a couple
I do.
General ones.
Yeah. So some of my favorites, since we talked about it a little bit earlier in our NFL segment, what if the Niners picked the Cali kid and passed on Alex Smith and took Aaron Rodgers in 2005?
That's an interesting one because who knows? I mean, those 49er teams with Kaepernick were good and Harbaugh.
And that defense with Patrick Willis.
Could you imagine Jim Harbaugh coaching Aaron Rodgers?
I know.
Wow.
And think about that defense: Eric Reed, Antoine Bethea, and then also throwing in Navarro Bowman.
Patrick Willis.
They had the best linebackers in the league: Ahmad Brooks, Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, and then on the defensive line, Alden Smith, Justin Smith. It was a great defense. And then on offense, like Crabtree. I know Crabtree's a meme. Frank Gore, Vernon Davis, Joe Staley. It was a good team. If they had Aaron Rodgers, I really think they win 2 or 3 Super Bowls.
I think so too. And that's, I know that hurts 49er fans immensely.
Alex Smith wasn't even that bad.
He wasn't horrible, no. And it sucks that he retired, but
he didn't really blossom until he got to KC. But he wasn't bad with the Niners.
No, he wasn't. Here's one that I love to talk about.
Okay.
What if Steve Bartman left the ball alone?
That's one of mine too. Yeah, if Bartman didn't touch the ball. Ugh. I don't know if the Cubs won the World Series that year because it would have been the Yankees in the World Series, but I do think they get past the Marlins. Honestly,
I think so too.
I do, and that's good news good for the Marlins fans because the 2 times they've been to the World Series, they've won it. But I think we'd be talking about the Cubs breaking the curse 13 years before. Well, maybe not breaking the curse, but getting back to the World Series. I believe they hadn't even been to the World Series since like 1945, right?
Yeah,
before
something
that.
like that.
So I think we'd be talking about a World Series trip. That Yankees team was really good, and I have no idea what would have played out, but I think they get there. And you know, weird stuff happens in the World Series. So.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, there's a fantastic 30 for 30 on ESPN. If you have ESPN Plus, it's called Catching Hell, and it explains the entire Steve Bartman story. If you
Foul ball that Moises Alou thought he was going to get, Bartman touches the ball, everybody loses their mind. The Cubs end up blowing a lead, losing that game, and Bartman gets death threats and ridicule. He had to change his name, move out of Chicago.
Nobody's heard from him since.
No. They asked him to throw out the first pitch at a World Series game a couple of years ago, and he said no.
Yeah, and I heard they offered him a World Series ring when they won the World Series. He turned that down too. And
he just wants to move on.
Quite frankly, I don't blame him.
Yeah,
I mean,
he just wants to
move on. I mean, it was almost 20 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Move on. It's over. The Cubs got their World Series. They returned to glory.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I mean, there's no telling what would have happened like with any of these. But what's your next one?
Yeah, my next one is going to be still going back to football. I guess football and baseball. What if Bo Jackson never got hurt and played a full career?
Yeah, that's interesting. He still is, but
maybe the greatest athlete of all time.
Quite possibly considered one of the best two-sport athletes, if not the best athlete ever.
Yeah, he's right up there. I mean, you have guys like Jackie Robinson played 4 sports in college.
Yeah.
Basketball, football, baseball, and track.
Yeah.
But you talk about Jackie Robinson, you talk about Jesse Owens, you talk about Bo Jackson. Really, I mean, Bo Jackson and now Kyler Murray. Honestly, Kyler Murray deserves to be in that conversation.
Deion Sanders.
Yeah, Deion. Kyler Murray, the amount of insane athleticism you have to be a top 10 pick in the MLB draft and the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft is ridiculous. So as much as we talk about Bo Jackson and Jackie Robinson as the greatest athletes ever, Kyler Murray is in that conversation now.
He is. Do another, going back to two-sport athletes, another one.
Do you think Bo Jackson could have gotten to the Hall of Fame in both sports?
I do.
You do?
I think so. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
No doubt. Another going back.
I'm a lock on football. Baseball would have been a little tougher, but he had the talent for sure.
Baseball's tough anyway.
Football, I think most people consider him a top 7 or 8 running back of all time, and he played 4 or 5 years.
Well, plus even the Baseball Hall of Fame is tough to get into anyway.
Absolutely. We're talking about, I mean, Joey Votto just hit his 300th home run like a week ago, and there's people saying, is he a Hall of Famer? I mean, in any other sport, a guy like Joey Votto would be a lock. First ballot.
Yeah.
And now we're like, is he a Hall of Famer? I personally think yes, but I'm a Reds fan. So.
What we've seen with the baseball voters in recent years is they're very particular about their Hall of Fame standards.
Yeah.
But going back to two-sport athletes, here's another one. What if Jordan didn't retire the first time?
He'd have 8 or 9 rings.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
he might have caught Bill Russell, honestly.
I think so.
He might have.
Yeah.
And I get why he walked away. It was so hard for him to have the motivation to keep playing after his dad was killed.
Yeah.
But I think that was just one of those moments for Michael where his dad always wanted him to play baseball. His dad gets killed, unfortunately, and he just says, I got to live this out for a little bit.
Goes and plays for Reinsdorf White Sox.
Yep. And then he comes back, and he's obviously, I mean, the greatest basketball player we've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I really do think in that time he was gone, if he never kind of like, I don't want to say loses that mental focus because I get why he did. But if he stayed locked in that whole decade, he's not a robot. But if he stayed locked in, honestly, I think he might have gotten to a 10 rings. He might have.
I think so. You can never speculate on who would have won what year, but
right. I think that Rockets team that won 2 straight while he was gone, I think the Bulls would have beaten that Rockets team if Michael was there. I really do. And That's no diss on that Rockets team. They had Clyde Drexler and Hakeem Olajuwon, which is, Hakeem is maybe you could argue Hakeem's the greatest center of all time. He's up there with Shaq and with Wilt and with Bill Russell, but Hakeem's one of the 5 greatest centers to ever play the sport, and I'm 100% confident that if Michael Jordan was playing, the Bulls would have beaten him.
I think so, too.
Here's a fun one, because this is another 30 for 30. What if the Yankees didn't allow the greatest comeback in baseball history and closed out the Red Sox in 2004?
We might still be talking about the curse of the Bambino.
Yep.
Might. And, of course, they've won 4 in the last 20 years, but it's honestly a very legitimate question. And another one with the Red Sox, what if 20 years before that, what if Buckner stuffed the ball at first base?
Absolutely. Maybe they win in the 80s.
Maybe they do.
Yeah.
It was what, like 70, 60, 70-something years at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think their last one was, 1919 or something like that? And then they traded Babe Ruth, and No, because 1919 was the Black Sox scandal, but it was in the 1910s.
Right,
so.
yeah. But there's so many that we can... We can do this segment every day if we want to.
Absolutely. Here's a really fun one that relates to college basketball. What if Chris Webber didn't call that that timeout that he didn't have?
It's interesting.
I think Michigan wins that game.
I think
I really do. That 5-5 team was so special.
For sure. Yeah, I love it. That's an interesting one because I don't know.
Who would have gotten the ball for that last shot? Probably Jalen Rose.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I would. Here's one that relates to NASCAR. What if Dale Earnhardt Sr. never crashed at Daytona? We could possibly put him in the same conversation as Petty is the best of all time.
Right. And Jimmy Johnson is in that conversation too now.
Yeah.
And to have more years of junior and senior racing together would have been a really fun experience, and it's unfortunate how that happened. What if we saw, in that scary crash at Daytona a couple of years ago, where there was a car that was on fire, they pulled the driver out, and then it exploded or something like that. So, there's just so many. NASCAR is such a dangerous sport.
It sure is. And, even what we saw with Ryan Newman last year.
Yeah.
He spins out, and then goes on his roof, and then gets hit and flips another time, and he walks out of the hospital 2 days later.
Right. There's so much modern safety procedures that go into it now, like the NASCAR drivers and how they're protected in the car. But the way that Newman crashed that day, I think a lot of people thought he wasn't going to make it.
Yeah, and I was included in that.
Yeah, I remember tweeting about it that day. I said, that's brutal.
I
hope for the best, but it doesn't look good.
I was literally watching that live, and I didn't realize at first. I didn't realize how bad it was, as bad as it was.
Yeah.
And then obviously they show the replays and all that, but
stretchering him off in the ambulance.
Yeah, and
we go again.
It was very eerie, and like you said, here we go again.
Well, I was gonna say NASCAR fans enjoy wrecks. It's part of the sport,
but one's as bad as
I was gonna say. But when something's wrong, it usually gets through the crowd very fast.
There's a line that
absolutely. If it's just somebody spinning out, people go crazy.
You spin out and you hit the wall. Well, that was cool, great.
Right.
But
if an ambulance starts coming out onto the track and they're pulling out a stretcher and the dude's not moving,
when there's
like you said, eerie silence.
When there's fire. When there's,
flips.
You could literally flips. You could literally see gas pouring out of Newman's car, right next to burning flames.
Yeah.
And luckily it didn't ignite. But
right.
And who knows what we would be having a different conversation.
Yeah,
but
no doubt about it. So I have 2 more.
Okay.
Well, 3 more. Okay. What if LeBron went to college? Where would he have gone?
That's tough. Maybe he goes to Ohio State.
Maybe he goes to Duke. He's buddies with Coach K.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe he goes to Kentucky.
Maybe.
That's tough.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate.
We could be
North Carolina.
We could be having a different conversation about
Syracuse had Melo. What if he goes to play with his boy Melo at Syracuse with Boeheim?
That's interesting too.
Yeah. So that's a fun one. And then another. These last 2 that I have are both football. Excuse me. What if the 72 Dolphins lost?
That's interesting because
they're the only team that's ever done it.
But I know people are going to attach it. Well, it was only 14 games. You still never lost.
Yeah, exactly.
And you could be having a completely different conversation. And that leads into the conversation of What if the Patriots don't lose to the Giants?
And that was my last one.
Yeah.
What if the 07 Patriots beat the Giants? 'Cause they were the better football team on paper.
And that's another
Ryan
thing.
Brady, Randy Moss,
Right.
Wes Welker. It was a team that should not have lost to the Giants.
And that's going to go back. I mean, you're going to hear all about my Colts on here because I'm a Colts fan, and it's both a love and hate relationship there. But in 2009, when they didn't lose until they chose to, and you could be having that conversation.
That Tracy Porter pick is so brutal.
Oh, I was like 7 years old when that was happening. But
and here's my last one.
All right.
I'm a Reds fan. The Reds had the second best record in baseball in 2010. It was the best Reds team since 1990 when they won the World Series. Joey Votto was the MVP. Jay Bruce hit the walk-off home run to clinch the division. They had Johnny Cueto in his prime, Homer Bailey before he got hurt, Matt Latos, Bronson Arroyo. It was a nasty team. It was a nasty, nasty team. Aroldis Chapman in his rookie year throwing 105.
Yeah.
They go on the road and beat the Giants, both games in San Francisco. Come home with a 2-0 lead. One win gets them to the NLCS where they would have played the St. Louis Cardinals, who they kicked the butt of all year long. And they lose 3 straight home games, 2 of them by 1 run.
Those Giants.
If that Giants team ended up winning the World Series. But if that Reds team closed out that in Cincinnati 3 straight home games, if they could have won one of those 3, I really think you could have been talking about a Reds World Series team that year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And those Giants teams ended up winning 3 and 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But
that Reds team.
I
know they had
team
the
was
second
fantastic.
best record, but I think they were the best team in baseball.
I would agree with you. Those
Votto had such a good year. 330,
Sure
like
did.
38 home runs. I mean, that was vintage Joey Votto. And I think that Jay Bruce had an all-star year. Brandon Phillips. I didn't even get into Brandon Phillips. Scott Rowland. Rowland. I mean, that team wasn't supposed to lose. And I was 11 years old when that team was a thing. And I'm about to turn 22, and that still bugs me that they didn't get the job done in that playoff because I'm like, I haven't seen a Reds team that's as close to that good in the last 10 years. I know they made the playoffs last year. That team wasn't as good as the 2010 team. The 2010 team should have made the World Series. Last year's team was lucky to make the wild card round.
Yeah.
This year, they'd be lucky to make the wild card round.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a team where it's like, and I don't know if I will see a team unless, Castillo, Gray, Mahle all have all-star caliber years, and then Jesse Winker turns into an MVP. That might be, which he might, but that's really kind of what you have to replicate right now because that Reds team had everything. And, I mean, their bullpen's average at best. And even if, the offense clicks and the starting rotation gives us leads, we don't have that 105-mile-an-hour Aroldis Chapman chilling in the back of the bullpen that just blows everyone away every night. I think that Reds team really missed a golden opportunity to get their 6th ring.
This just coming out in baseball. We talked about DeGrom. He's headed to the 10-day injured list with right side tightness. So doesn't sound too major, but it's something to keep tabs
Rojas
on.
said they took him out precautionary. He'll probably miss 1 or 2 starts, but that Mets team's good enough to make the playoffs. You do not screw up Jacob DeGrom.
Not at all.
Do not mess him up. Wait until he's 100%, bring him back, because it's very likely that they either make the playoffs or they're in the wild card game, and you're not going anywhere without Jacob DeGrom.
So I think this will move us into our final segment here today because we have about 10 minutes left, but NBA talk. And the NBA playoffs are coming up. There's who are the favorites in each conference. Personally, my favorites for each conference is the Lakers in the West and Brooklyn in the East.
Man, I don't think that's a super hot take.
Not at all.
Especially with the Nets. I mean, with the West has been fun this year because you see a team like the Suns and the Utah Jazz and come out of nowhere, but you really think Suns with old Chris Paul and Devin Booker in his first ever playoffs is going to beat LeBron? No, it's not happening. I agree with you. I think it's Lakers Nets as long as LeBron's good to go, which I haven't heard anything that says he isn't.
So something that I think
who's the biggest challenger in each conference for both teams? I think the Nets. I think for the Nets, it's the Sixers. I like the Bucks, but I think it's the Sixers.
I'd agree with you there. The West is tough.
Maybe the Clippers. Maybe
I'm not as high on the Clippers as many people. Yeah. Personally, I know you said the Suns, but I like them in the West.
I do too. You know who? This is gonna kind of maybe catch people off guard, but you know who I'd say is maybe the biggest competition to the Lakers? If their big man can stay healthy, and that's a man from Latvia that played for the Knicks.
You
Was
gonna
traded
say
there.
the Mavericks?
The Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
I think Luka's a dude that proved last year that he can win playoff games by himself. And if either LeBron or Anthony Davis aren't 100%, Luka's one of the few guys in the league that can take advantage of that.
If they can have Porzingis and Luka on the court,
If Porzingis, that's the big X factor.
if they can come
Luka
back,
can't do it by himself.
No,
if Porzingis plays, they got a shot.
they do. And
I
so,
love Rick Carlisle too.
I do too. Oh, he's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And he's personally one of my favorite coaches in basketball, behind Greg Popovich, and I love Doc Rivers.
Yeah. Brad Stevens.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we both wanted him to be the head coach at IU, but I still respect the heck out of him. And he's a great coach for the Boston Celtics. And
Sure.
if the Celtics ever part ways with him because they think it's his fault that they're not succeeding, I mean, they're stupid, because another team will pick him up and have great success because Brad Stevens is an elite NBA coach.
He is. And I know he said multiple times that he's not going back to college. And I know Scott Dolson and both of us wanted him to go to Indiana. I love the Mike Woodson hire, though.
Oh, the Woodson hire is great.
I love it.
I'm cool with it, yeah.
Personally, I think IU, this is not the topic, but I'm going to touch on this
We'll
for about
talk IU
30
this summer.
seconds.
Yeah.
Personally, I think IU's athletic department was scared to hire a Bob Knight disciple because of what happened at IU with Bob Knight. But Scott Dolson finally wised up and said, hey, I don't care. We're going to do it anyway and see what happens. So I love it. But back to the NBA.
Yeah. No doubt about it. We're going to talk IU plenty this summer.
Right,
So.
yeah.
I mean, and college basketball and college football aren't even really full force yet. Wait until next month when college football is starting up again. I mean, you're not going to get us to shut up about college football. So,
but this leads me into the Nets, who are fantastic.
Oh yeah, they're really good.
I mean, Kyrie, KD.
They even
Blake
had
Griffin.
LaMarcus Aldridge retire halfway through the season, but they still go into the playoffs with KD, Harden, Kyrie, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. Off the bench, you have Landry Shamet. You have Joe Harris in the starting line. Joe Harris is so good.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about KD, Harden, Griffin, Kyrie. Nobody talks about Joe Harris, and that's a crime because he's the best three-point shooter in the league, not named Steph Curry.
So this is going to lead me into something that annoys the hell out of me. My Indiana Pacers, like I said earlier, are a dumpster fire. I mean, apparently I know everybody was upset with what the assistant coach Greg Foster did last week with Goga Bitadze. Personally, I have no issues with it.
No.
If a player is going to tell you to F off and do all that, the coach should go back at him. You don't do that to a coach.
No.
And
I get that the NBA is a different standard than high school, but
I don't care.
It's still your coach.
It's still a coach, and I think NBA players right now are babies.
Oh yeah.
And everyone gets
entitled as hell.
Yeah. And I'm with Greg Foster. I completely agree with what he did. The suspension that he got from the Pacers was completely blasphemous, similar to the Castellanos suspension. Pointless. But yeah, the Pacers, I guess the Pacers are interesting to me, not because they're on-court play, which is atrocious, but just with the drama that surrounds them right now. I guess when Bjorkgren got hired over the winter, TJ Warren wanted out, and I guess he still wants out. Sabonis is hurt. I mean, Miles Turner is. I mean, they're like the Dodgers. They're the injury-prone team in the league, but the Pacers are 30-34 as of this SI article the other day. I don't know what their record is. Probably they've lost every game since then because they're terrible.
They're still sitting as the 10 seed.
They still have a chance to make the playoffs, and quite honestly, they don't deserve to.
Yeah. No, they don't.
And apparently, the Nate Bjorkgren's future is in question because the players don't like him. And everybody knows in the history of sports, if the players don't like your coach, he ain't around very long. And personally, I like Kevin Pritchard as the president of president of basketball ops and general manager in Indianapolis. But there's got to be a point where if there's as much drama as they say there is, there's got to be a point where Herb Simon and company clean house. And I hate to say that because Pritchard's done a fantastic job. But what have the Pacers done in the last 10 years? Since Danny Granger, since Roy Hibbert, since Tyler Hansbrough.
The best shot they had was against that Heat team with Paul George and Danny Granger and all them. And they lost a couple heartbreakers to prime LeBron, but everyone lost to prime LeBron. So
it's fascinating. It's like they're like the Packers right now. That's the only thing I can compare them to is the players don't like the coach, except that in the Packers case it's a general manager. But it's just a fascinating dilemma is really the best word that I can say. But
you mentioned that they're still somehow hanging on to the final playoff spot, but they play the Wizards right now if the season ended today. And the Wizards, speaking of the Wizards, Russell Westbrook has a shot to break the all-time triple-double record tonight.
Yeah.
Have you seen his numbers in the month of May? I know it's only 10 days in, but
personally, I'm not an NBA fan. I haven't watched a whole lot of the NBA because I can't bring myself to do it.
Russell Westbrook in the month of May is averaging 26.2 points a game, 15.8 rebounds a game, and 16.4 assists per game.
Unbelievable.
He is really, really good. And he's always, I feel like, he's not, I still think Curry's the best point guard in the NBA. But he is incredibly overcriticized. Russell Westbrook is so talented.
He is.
People say he stat pads, but their last game they won by 2, and he got the block to win the game and hit the 2 free throws to give him the lead with 8 seconds left. So they literally needed every single point, every single rebound, and every single assist to win that game. So I'm sick of people saying that he stat pads because I saw another stat that said in games that Russell Westbrook records a triple-double over like the last 4 years, his teams are 44-9.
Huh.
Or something like that.
Okay.
So
wow.
It translates to wins.
Yeah, it sure does. And personally, like I said, the NBA is unwatchable to me. Unless it's the playoffs, then I'll tune in. But and that's like what a lot of people are with baseball. They don't tune in until the playoffs because personally, no one wants to sit down and watch 9 innings of baseball. And there are times when I do that when I have literally nothing else to do in an afternoon. But the NBA is they have the best commissioner in all of professional sports in America, but it seems like they're the worst. They're the worst league there is, which is kind of an interesting. I don't know
how you outsuck Goodell, but they managed to do it.
Yeah. And that's it's the opposite in football. The product is fantastic, but the commissioner is terrible.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting.
And then in baseball, the product has a chance to be fantastic, but the commissioner's super terrible.
Yeah, and so with the NBA and the NFL, it's an interesting contradiction because, the NBA was good 15 years ago.
Yep.
It's not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I know we're about to wrap up here in about 90 seconds, but I just saw this pop up, and we can talk about this more tomorrow, but it's a great headline to end the show. This is just another day in Cincinnati, folks. Reports via Mike Florio were that Chad Johnson and Pac-Man Jones were in talks to fight on the undercard in the Floyd Mayweather-Logan Paul fight, and Chad Johnson just backed out and said he won't fight Pac-Man. Oh, my goodness.
That might even be better than
that
the
is
Paul
better than the
Mayweather.
Floyd's gonna kick his ass. That would be the best fight ever. Chad Johnson versus Pac-Man Jones. Are you kidding me? I'd bet like $100 on Chad, by the way. But
I would too.
I don't know. Pac-Man's been to prison like 3 times. I don't know.
It's tough. I
can't bet against Chad, but Pac-Man's got the more kind of fighting history, I think. So we'll see. Maybe that's why Chad backed out of it. He's like, oh crap, Pac-Man might actually kill me.
He's been to jail. Yeah, but that's another thing we can talk about here in the coming weeks is that Mayweather and Paul fight.
Anyone who thinks Logan Paul is going to beat Floyd Mayweather.
Personally, both of those Paul brothers annoy the heck out of me.
Yeah.
And
Jake Paul wants to fight Usman right now, Nigerian Nightmare. And he's like, Usman's scared because he won't take a fight with me. And Usman, every time they ask him for a comment, he says, I'm going to kill the kid. Like, I don't want to fight him because I respect fighting. I'm going to kill the guy because he doesn't know how to fight. And I agree. Like, you put You put Usman in the ring with Jake Paul. I don't care what Jake Paul has done against Nate Robinson and Ben Askren, who's a wrestler with a dad bod. Usman's gonna kill him, and that's the same if you put him up against Israel Adesanya.
Yeah,
that's the same if you put him up against John Jones. That's the same if you put him up against Canelo. There's a reason why Jake Paul isn't calling out Canelo, because he knows Canelo would kill him.
I think 45-year-old Pacquiao could beat Paul or Jake Paul.
Yeah,
either of them.
There's a reason why Jake Paul keeps calling out Ben Askren and Nate Robinson and not Canelo Alvarez.
Because Nate Robinson is like 5'2".
Because Canelo Alvarez would leave a Jake Paul smudge mark on the ring. That's all that would be left.
Yeah.
So Jake Paul, you can keep fighting these, barely semi-pro boxers all you want, and then be, 11-0 and be like, I'm the best boxer on the planet. You're never going to beat Canelo. You're never going to beat Usman. You're never going to beat Adesanya, and your brother's going to get his ass kicked by Floyd Mayweather.
He is. And I know watching that face-off thing that they did this weekend, and how childish do you have to be to take somebody's hat?
Especially a dude who's made over $1 billion in fights in his life. Floyd, do you not remember that Floyd knocked out Conor McGregor 3 years ago? You couldn't beat McGregor, and you expect Floyd. Floyd might have gone easy on you and just let him win by decision until you took his hat. Now he's going to try and knock you out.
Yeah. So, that was our boxing fighting segment.
That
UFC
last 8
segment
minutes was elite.
It was. So that does it for the first edition of Testa and Neal, Keep It Real, and then WWSU 106.9. That was a lot of fun.
The beauty is you don't have to wait until next week. We'll be back tomorrow.
Exactly. So if you're not sick of us yet, you have all summer.
I give it till the week. The end of the week.
Yeah. So
tomorrow, 1 to 3. The whole show tomorrow will be live. I know we're kind of 15 minutes late to get the camera feed up today. I have a class that's on Mondays and Wednesdays, so it'll be a little weird this week. We should have it ironed out for next week.
Yeah.
But tomorrow will be totally normal, 1 to 3. So make sure you catch us on YouTube. You can catch us on WWSU 106.9. And follow us on social media. I'm at ESPN Shea Neal, SHEANEAL. Throw an ESPN in front of that. He's at Parker Testa. We will let you know as soon as the new YouTube channel's ready. We'll let you know as soon as we do start doing interview segments, stuff like that. So all summer long, make sure you hang out with us. We have a lot of really fun stuff planned.
For sure. So with that, for Shea Neal, I am Parker Testa here on WWSU 106.9. We will see you tomorrow on WWSU 106.9. Testa and Neal, keep it real every day, 1 to 3. We'll see you soon.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots.
And now, your Right State weather forecast.